All right, we are live about 2 minutes early, but that's okay. I see we've got a few people here from YouTube already. See Evelyn, Rhea, Radwa, and Guerma. Thank you all for joining and commenting. So today our live video or our live lesson is going to be pretty informal. It's just going to be about 30, 45 minutes, maybe. We'll see. I don't know exactly how long, but about 30 to 45 minutes. And I'm just going to let all of you ask me some questions about English and learning English. So you can really ask me anything that you want today. Just keep it about English or about languages. So we're not talking about wars, we're not talking about politics, just talking about language. And please remember that there are going to be hundreds or maybe even thousands of comments on this video, and I am just one human. It is not possible for me to read all of them, but I will try my best to read as many of them as possible and answer the questions that I think will benefit or be interesting to the largest number of people. So some of you might have really good questions, but I don't see them because I can't read every single comment. Or you might have a really good question, but I don't answer it because I don't think that other people are going to be very interested in it. So those are some quick things to understand today. I am going to try to read the comments and answer some questions, but I can't answer everything. So thank you in advance for your understanding and cooperation. And I see Ava Gavenda is here. W in first name and last name, both pronounced with a V sound because of Polish. Ilham Galem, hello, hello. Bego Kumar from YouTube, hello, thank you for joining. Kyre Shakale, I don't know if that's really how you pronounce your name, but thank you for watching. One question I see already is what is traditional American food? And I'm not going to talk about this a lot, but I am going to say that I already have one video in which I talk a little bit about a few traditional American foods and I show you how to cook them. So if you're interested in watching a cooking video, I do have a video already, both on Facebook and on YouTube. So you can just search for probably Teacher Mike English American food. If you search that on Google or Facebook or YouTube, you should be able to find that video. And I see a question here from Qatar. Hi, watching from Kurdistan. Please talk about will and going to. This is another one that I'm not really going to talk about today because I already have maybe 3 or 4 videos about this topic. So what I recommend doing is going to my YouTube channel. I see you are on YouTube. Good. And just search Teacher Mike will going to or Teacher Mike future tense because I already have several videos about those. And the reason that I'm not really going to explain it right now is that there are many details that I'm not going to explain 100% correctly if I try to explain all of them right now without a plan. But I will tell you that one of the most important differences is that we use will to respond to things. If something happens that we didn't know was going to happen, or we have a problem, or something surprises us, in those situations, we usually use will. Um, for example, if your friend says, "It's really cold in your house," you could say, "Oh, I'm sorry. I will turn the heat on." In that situation, we use will to show that we didn't have a plan in the past. We are announcing this right now, responding to what you said. I didn't plan to turn the heat on, but you said that you are cold. So, okay, I will. That is a type of situation in which we use will. But again, I already did, I think, a better job explaining that in some of my older videos, so I recommend searching for those. But yeah, thank you for your question. Um, can I have your phone? No, you cannot have my phone. My phone is mine and I paid for it. So you cannot have my phone. Um, However, maybe you want to know, can I have your phone number? If you want to call me, you can ask, can I have your phone number? Unfortunately, I do not have a business phone number because I am not a business. I am just one person who creates videos for Facebook and YouTube. So I'm sorry, there's nothing to contact me about because I am not a business. Evelyn, if you were an animal, what animal would you be and why? Um, First things first, there's two ways that you can ask this question. You can ask, oh, why did that happen? You can ask if you were an animal, or you can ask if you could, oh, wait, if you were an animal, what animal would you be and why? Okay, yeah. So there's two ways to ask this question. You can ask, if you were an animal, what animal would you be and why? So this is correct. This is a correct question, but this one sounds like you want me to think about my personality or my body and think about which animal is similar to me, or which animal am I similar to? Um, and to answer that question, I don't really know. But you could ask, if you could be any animal, what animal would you like to be and why? That one is more about which one do you think is interesting? Which one would you enjoy being? And I will write that for everyone in the comments, or I'll put it on the screen. If you could be any animal, what animal would you like to be? I just think that this is a more realistic question. If you could be any animal, what animal would you like to be? Um, I have to think about it for a moment. I think I don't know, but one animal that I maybe would like to be is an elephant. So if I could be any animal, I would like to be an elephant because elephants are very intelligent. They They have emotions, they have memory. They're very, very smart animals, but they're also large and powerful and beautiful. So if I could be any animal, I would like to be an elephant. I don't know if I really would want to be an elephant, but that's just an example. Using the mother language in teaching English, is it useful or not? Fatih Ku, thank you for your question. So this person is asking, if you are an English teacher, should you speak the student's first language, or should you only speak English? Um, so there are multiple things to think about here. So if we think about what I am doing right now, I am only speaking English, mostly because my audience is in many different countries. So there's not one language that I can use to communicate with all of you, except for English. Um, but generally, what's usually recommended is do not use the student's first language. Anytime that the student is learning, it's better to have more English and less of their first language, because anytime that they are listening to their first language, they are losing time that they could be listening to English. And you want to listen to English as much as possible. Also, when you go back and forth, this language to English, this language to English, it kind of shows the student, I don't really believe that you will understand me if I only speak English. And I think that's not a good message to give the student. Um, as a teacher, you should be trying to show the students you can understand English. You might not understand every word right now or all of the time, but that's how you learn. You learn by sometimes not understanding everything and by doing the things that are difficult and challenging yourself. So generally, it's better to only use English. However, there are situations in which it is appropriate to use the student's first language. Um, for example, if your students only have 1 hour per week with their teacher, that is a situation where you don't have time to act and speak slowly and do all the things that good teachers do, because you only have 1 hour with your students. So you want to make sure that they understand everything correctly, easily, and quickly. Um, but it depends. It depends on the goals of your students and the goal of your whole class. But there are situations in which it is okay to speak the student's first language. But if you have several hours per week, maybe 4 or 5 or 6 hours per week with your students, I recommend trying to speak English with them the whole time. But if you only have a little bit of time and maybe most of the students understand something, but there's 1 or 2 students who don't understand, okay, explain it to those students very quickly in their first language so that everyone can continue with the lesson. Um, I don't really recommend doing that, but there are situations in which I believe that that is okay. Oops, why is that one here? Is it necessary to use articles and uppercase for Earth? Um, I don't think it's necessary to use uppercase for Earth. Um, however, article, I think it probably depends on the situation. There are some situations in which we just say Earth, and some situations in which we say the Earth. Um, Off the top of my head, I can't really tell you. I would have to read about that a little bit, think about it a little bit more. I probably shouldn't have chosen this question because I don't have a good answer, but at first it looked interesting, so I clicked on it. But I'll try to get more information about that and maybe make a video about it in the future. Why is this one still on the screen? How do I make it go away? Oh, okay, because it's not a comment. Okay. Looking for some more questions. Okay. This is another one where I'm going to recommend a video that I already have because I already have one or two videos about this. But the main thing I want to say right now is that most people rarely use whom. In modern English, most people just use who. If you use whom a lot, your English is going to sound a bit formal, and sounding formal all the time can just make your English sound a little bit weird. I know it's correct to use whom in certain situations, but most people don't usually. But if you want to, again, I already have a video about it. You can just search on Facebook or YouTube, Teacher Mike, who and whom. Okay, here's a question that I like. How to learn English with a series. So how do you learn English? By watching TV. Basically, you watch it and you listen and you try to understand what is happening. That's really the answer. There's nothing special that you need to do. However, I'll think a little bit about what you might want to know. So you might want to know about, should you use subtitles? Should you use captions? If you can hear 100% and you don't have any difficulty hearing, I recommend watching shows without subtitles, without captions, without anything on the screen. That way, you improve your listening. And this is another one where I already have one or two or maybe even three videos about this. You can go on my YouTube channel and you can search subtitles or captions, and that video will give you some more information. But really, the good thing about series or TV shows is that you follow the story for a long time. So you really don't need to understand every word or every sentence because you know the characters really well and you know the story because you've already been watching it for 4 or 5 or 6 hours. So even when you don't understand all of the language, it's still really easy to understand the overall message and the things that are happening. And when you allow yourself to learn this way, without focusing too much on every word and every sentence, this is really how people improve their listening and learn common expressions and things that people say in normal conversations. If you hear something that you think is interesting, but you can't tell what they're saying, then yeah, rewind it, go back, turn on the captions, the subtitles, see what they said, and then write it down in your notebook. The same thing anytime you hear a new word that you think is interesting. If you can't tell what they said, turn on the captions, check what they said, write it down. But again, in general, the main thing you do is just relax and listen. And don't worry about understanding every word. Just know that every hour you spend listening and relaxing and enjoying it, your listening skills are getting better. Good question. Joel from El Salvador, could you pronounce soap and soup? So the first one, so, O, like the letter O, soap. This one is ooh, like you, soup, soap, soup, soap, soup. I hope that helps. Do you have any broadcasts on Spotify? I've thought about doing something like that, but I feel like most of my followers are not very good at using technology, honestly. So anytime that I talk about different websites, people say things like, I don't know what that is. I don't know how to do that. We don't have that in my country. So mostly I just use Facebook and YouTube. But I will think about that a little bit more in the future, because I do think it is interesting to do new things and find new ways to teach people. Okay, I like this question, and Radwa was here early, so I'm going to answer this one. How can I focus on grammar and structure while speaking? It's hard for me, so either focus on grammar but speak slowly and take time to think, or I keep the conversation flowing but make grammar errors. So it's a good question, and it looks like you already understand it, which is good. You know that there are two main options, and I'm very happy that you see that. So one option is speak very slowly, focusing on grammar, make yourself uncomfortable, and maybe make the other person uncomfortable. That's the first option. The second option is keep the conversation going, speak a little bit faster. Don't worry so much about your grammar. And that is what I recommend, because grammar, it's important to improve your grammar. But when you're having a conversation with someone, the goal of your conversation is more important than your grammar. And let's say that your goal is to build a relationship with someone, maybe a new friend or a new coworker. So you're talking to this person, but you keep stopping, thinking, oh, that's not correct. Oh, no, I don't want to say it that way. I want to say it this way. Oh, no, I don't know. I don't know what to say. So I'm just going to stop and be quiet. That does not help you build a relationship. That does not help you make friends. So what's better is just make a few mistakes. Making mistakes is fine. English is not your first language. And you already know, if you don't worry about making mistakes, you will keep the conversation flowing. So here is what I recommend. Study grammar. if you want to. Studying grammar can be very useful. And create full sentences that use that grammar. And review them every day. Practice saying them out loud by yourself every single day. That is how you improve your grammar, is by studying it, creating your own sentences with it, and then practicing using those sentences by yourself every day. And then, because you have practiced them by yourself many times, it will be much easier to remember them quickly in real conversation. And I'm not saying that you need to memorize lots of sentences, but when you memorize a few sentences, the grammar that's in those sentences will stay in your brain more easily, and it will be easier for you to apply that grammar in real conversations. So, study grammar if you want to improve your grammar. But when you're having a conversation, don't worry about your grammar. Either you have it or you don't. That's how I think about it. Maybe, yeah, sure, you could spend 30 seconds in your head trying to create a perfect sentence, but nobody cares about you having a perfect sentence. They just want to have a conversation with you and connect with you as a human being. And you can't do that when you're thinking about grammar. So study grammar, but don't worry about grammar in conversation. If you have studied grammar by yourself in your free time at home, and you have practiced speaking these sentences by yourself many times at home, you will be able to use it more easily in real conversations without thinking about it. And if you need to stop to think about your grammar, honestly, usually you don't. Usually it's fine to just make a mistake and the other person will probably understand you. But if you really want to stop, take 5 seconds. Stop and think about the grammar. But if you're not sure, don't take 20 seconds or 30 seconds. It's not that important. Just try to say it the best you can and don't worry about it too much. That was a kind of long answer, and I'm not 100% sure if it made sense to everyone. But the basic thing is that you worry about grammar at home, or at school. You focus on improving your grammar at home or at school. And when you do that, your grammar will be better when you have conversations with people. It won't always be perfect, but it will be better. So yeah, don't worry about grammar during your conversations. Worry about your grammar in private, at home, at school, and that will help you have better grammar in conversations. Probably going to do 2 more questions. I don't know if you all can see those balloons that come up when I do this. I don't know why those are there, and I don't know if you can see them. But that's I don't know what that is. I like this question. Instead of saying sir all the time to men, what kind of word could we say in the polite way? So, if you are talking to an English speaker, a native English speaker, 99% of the time, the most polite thing you can do is show them that you remember their name. If you call someone sir, it sometimes sounds like you don't know what their name is, and you don't really care about them as a human, as a person. You don't want to have any close relationship with them. because when you call someone sir, that sounds like you are above me. You are more important than me, and we cannot be friends because you are sir and I am down here. Um, so usually just call people by their name. So call me Mike. When people call me sir, it usually makes me uncomfortable. It's like I'm not more important than you. I'm not better than you. I'm not higher than you. You're probably older than me. So yeah, you don't need to call people sir, and I'm happy to see that you know that you shouldn't call people sir all the time. There are situations in which you should call people sir, but I've noticed that most English learners do it too much. Um, and if so, in your culture, maybe you're not comfortable using first name, but guess what? We aren't speaking your language right now. We're speaking English. So, what makes you comfortable in your language really isn't important when you are having a conversation with an English speaker. The same thing is true for me. If I have a conversation with someone in Thai or Arabic, I don't speak Arabic, but just as an example, I would not call people by their first names because I know that those people do not like to do that. So, when we speak a different language, we need to think about what those people do in their language, not what we do in our language. Um, but another very easy thing that you can do is just ask. Ask them, what would you like me to call you? And I'll put this on the screen for everyone. What would you like? So you can ask this, what would you like me to call you? And they'll tell you, call me Mike, or call me teacher, or call me sir. So if you're not sure, ask them. You can ask it that way, or you could ask, how should I address you? How should I address you means the same thing as what should I call you? So if you're ever in a situation and you don't know what to call someone, just ask. So yeah, good question. Thank you for asking. And let's do one more. Okay, so this is our last question for today, and this is a good one. Um, all of them are good ones, but this is one that I'm interested in talking about right now. So, my problem is spelling. Some words are still difficult for me. Well, guess what? Many words are still difficult for me because the way that we spell words in English is stupid. It's difficult. It doesn't make sense. So you don't have a problem. You are just a normal human learning a language that doesn't make sense. So, what should you do? Read every day. That's the number one thing. Read every day so that you see words spelled correctly again and again. And also, this shouldn't be a very big problem because when you are typing on your computer or on your phone, it will tell you if a word is spelled incorrectly. And if you notice that you spelled a word incorrectly, write down the correct spelling, either in your notebook or on your laptop or on your phone. And if you really want to, write some sentences with that word to practice using it, and so that you can write it 10, 20, 30 times, and that will help you to spell it correctly in the future. But the main thing I want to say about this is that, yeah, it's English is difficult. The spelling doesn't make sense usually. There are lots of rules that work 70% of the time, but then don't work 30% of the time. Like I before E except after C. Yeah, that sounds good, but there are so many words where the rule doesn't work. So read every day. When you find words that you know you can't spell correctly or you have problems spelling, look them up using the internet or using a dictionary, write them down, and write them or type them again and again and again. Review them regularly. That's about it. Yeah, good question. Maybe one more? Let's do one more. One more question. I see Marcos Miguel is asking about do and make. I have a video about that. I highly recommend going on Facebook or YouTube and searching Teacher Mike, do and make. Okay, this is our last question for today. Seriously, this one is the last one. Can I improve my grammar by reading books? Do you have any special advice for that? So yes, really the best way to improve your grammar is by reading and listening every day. I believe that reading books and listening to real conversations is the best way to improve your grammar. If you do that and you do it every day, you don't need to study grammar. You might want to study grammar. It might be helpful for it will be helpful for many people, but in general, just reading and listening is more helpful than studying grammar by itself, because you're seeing the language used in real situations. It's not just here is one sentence and this is the grammar. You have all of the information before that sentence and all of the information after that sentence. And that helps you understand why this sentence is written the way that it is written. So yes, books are an excellent way to improve your grammar. Do I have any special advice for that? So my advice is that when you see a sentence and you think that the grammar is interesting, write it down. Try to understand it, and then try to write your own sentences using that grammar, but maybe change a few of the nouns, change a few of the verbs. And doing that, you will be able to create new sentences using the same grammar structure, and that will help you to remember it and be able to use it more easily in the future. Doing things like that, in my opinion, is a lot more useful than reading a grammar textbook or watching a video about grammar. In my opinion, it's always better to have real language from a book, from a TV show, things like that. But yeah, that's it. Reading is great. Reading is an excellent way to improve your grammar. Just make sure to write things down and review them. So after you write something down, the next day, look at it again, read it out loud, speaking it, and do that every day. Maybe not the same sentences every day, but you should have something that you're reviewing and reading out loud, speaking every day. Great question. But yeah, that is all for today. I will just look at a few more of the comments, just say hi to people, but I'm not going to answer any more questions. I do want to put this here. I think the most important thing is that we need to practice language every day. Yes, yes. So in my professional opinion, in my about 12 years of experience teaching English to adults, practicing using the language is a lot more important than understanding why we use the language or understanding every little detail about the grammar. Just being able, if you've heard a sentence that uses past perfect tense and you understood it, even if you don't understand why we used past perfect tense, that's still really good. That's still really useful. And it's going to help you use it in the future, even if you can't explain why you are using it. So yeah, practice is, in my opinion, more important than studying. Beatrice Flores, you're the best. Thank you. Thank you very much. Ilham Golem, practice makes perfect. I know that this is something that's supposed to be positive and it's something that everybody says, but there are two problems with this. First problem is your English is never going to be 100% perfect, just like my English as a native English speaker is never going to be 100% perfect. So for all of us, our goal should be to improve and be as good as possible. But it's also important to understand that no one is perfect in any language. So when we expect to be perfect, that makes us feel bad because we never are perfect. So also, if you practice something, but you practice something that's wrong, it's never going to be perfect. So what I prefer to say instead of practice makes perfect is practice makes permanent, which means the things that you practice will stay with you. So if you always say "wan" instead of "van," you're always going to say "wan" because that's what you practice saying again and again and again. And saying it again and again and again is never going to change it. It's always going to stay the same. So practice makes permanent. If you practice things that are correct, you will be able to use them correctly in the future. If you practice things that are wrong, you will use them wrong in the future. But hopefully, eventually, you will notice that they are wrong, and then you will change them. And you will practice using the correct ones. And then, because now you've made the mistake, someone told you it's wrong, and now you're practicing the correct one again and again and again, the correct one will become permanent. But no one will ever be perfect. But yeah, that is all for today. I've got some other things to do. Thank you everyone very much for joining. I hope you found this one interesting. And I know some of the questions I talked a lot and I'm not sure how clear the answer is to you, but I tried my best. I hope you found it useful. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you all very much for joining.